the miniature city. Ethan's eyes scanned the cluttered attic, taking in the dusty relics and forgotten inventions that filled the space. Sunlight streamed in through the small window, catching motes of dust suspended in the air. He breathed deeply, inhaling the comforting scent of old books and memories. His grandparents had collected these objects over decades, filling the attic with curiosities. Ethan's eyes lingered on the antique microscope in the corner. It had belonged to his grandfather and was one of the gifts that first sparked Ethan's interest in science. He treasured it. Ethan carefully made his way deeper into the attic, sidestepping towers of boxes and artifacts. He brushed his hand over the worn cover of a star chart book sitting atop a trunk. Charting the stars and constellations was one of Ethan's favorite hobbies. He imagined all the celestial discoveries waiting to be made. What mysteries hid in those tiny pinpricks of light? As he rounded a bulky wardrobe, a strange pulsating glow caught Ethan's eye. Tucked away in the corner was a circular hatch, no bigger than a dinner plate. The edge shone with an otherworldly iridescence. Strange symbols marked the metallic surface. Ethan hesitated, then crouched down for a closer look. This was unlike anything else in the attic. He ran his fingers along the hatch, feeling the thrum of energy beneath. What could it be? Some long-forgotten invention of his grandfather's? But no, the technology looked too advanced, the energy too unfamiliar. He had to know more. With a mix of trepidation and exhilaration, Ethan pulled the hatch open. Dazzling light spilled out as he peered inside, eyes widening. A sprawling city lay within, bustling with activity and gleaming with shimmering towers. Luminous walkways threaded between buildings. Tiny beings moved about. Ethan blinked rapidly, wondering if his eyes were playing tricks. But no, the city remained. This was no model or illusion. He was gazing into a world within his own. Small flying machines zoomed by just feet from Ethan's looming face. He instinctively jerked back. The machines also pulled up short, pivoting in the air to face him. Through transparent domes, Ethan could make out the pilots inside. They stared up at him, faces reflecting the same mix of awe and alarm that Ethan felt. One pilot broke away, speeding down into the depths of the city. Ethan took a shaky breath. Should he slam the hatch shut? Flee the attic and pretend he'd see nothing? Curiosity rooted him in place. He had to know more. Cautious figures emerged from the shining towers below. They moved onto a platform, gazing up at the giant face peering down at their city. Ethan guessed they were the city's leaders. He raised a hand in greeting. The figure shifted uneasily. Ethan spoke gently. "It's okay. I'm a friend. I won't hurt you." The leaders conferred amongst themselves. Finally, one stepped forward, hands raised. "Greetings, giant friend," she called up in a melodic voice. "I am Myral, Chief Science Advisor of Luminera. What brings you to our city?" Ethan's mind spun. Luminera. So that was this city's name. He took a steadying breath. "My name is Ethan," he said. "I found a hatch in my attic and opened it. I didn't know your city was inside. But it's incredible." He smiled, hoping to seem friendly and put them at ease. The Luminarians glanced at each other, then back at Ethan. "Forgive our caution," said Myral. "But our world has remained secret for all our history. You are the first outsider to gaze upon Luminera." Ethan's heart quickened. A secret, advanced civilization. He could learn so much from them. And perhaps they could learn from him. "I would love to know more about Luminera," he said eagerly. "How does it exist within my world? What's the source of all your light?" Myral considered him a moment, then gave a nod. She turned and gestured to the city. Luminera thrives because of our power crystal. It provides energy, warmth, and sustenance. She indicated a massive shining spire at the city's center. All our technology and infrastructure depend upon it. As Myral spoke, Ethan noticed flickers of darkness spread through some buildings. He pointed. "Is something wrong with the crystal?" Myral followed his gaze, frowning. "Yes. It has become increasingly unstable. We fear it may be failing. And if it does..." She trailed off grimly. Ethan looked around as sections of Luminera dimmed, then re-illuminated. If that crucial crystal failed, these people would lose everything. Empathy swelled within him. "There must be a way to fix it," Ethan said. "My grandfather was an inventor. Maybe he left something here that could help." He turned, scanning the attic's jumbled contents. Myral regarded him silently. Several other Luminarians flew up in small vessels to join her. "You wish to help us, Giant?" Myral asked finally. "You have no obligation to our world." Ethan gave her a reassuring smile. "Your city is extraordinary. Of course I want to help." He noticed then that several buildings had subtly changed size as he spoke. Some even shifted positions, rearranging themselves around the central crystal spire. Puzzled, he looked questioningly at Myral. Her expression turned grave. "There is something you should know. Luminera does not merely exist within your world. It is bound to it and to you." Ethan stared. "To me? But how?" "Long ago, our founders harnessed the power of empathy to create the crystal," Myral explained. "It channeled human emotional energy to sustain and grow the city. Over time, it became attuned to your family's lineage." Ethan's breath caught in wonder. So his own emotions were affecting this marvelous city. Joy, excitement, and determination to help swelled within him. As they did, Luminera's light intensified in response. Myral nodded as if reading his mood. "Your empathy fuels our world, Giant. With care and wisdom, your emotions can save Luminera." Ethan gazed down as Luminarians gathered below, looking up at him with desperate hope in their eyes. The fate of their entire civilization now depended on him. The central crystal in Luminera flickered erratically, pulses of light surging through it in inconsistent waves. Around it, Luminarians watched anxiously. Myral monitored instruments tracking the crystal's oscillations, her brow furrowed in concern. "Its deterioration is accelerating," she said grimly. "We are running out of time." In his attic, Ethan frowned at the oscilloscope screen. He had built an experimental crystal using spare parts, trying to replicate the unique energy signature of Luminera's own crystal. But the waves on the screen remained choppy and arrhythmic no matter his adjustments. He sat back with a frustrated sigh. There had to be some way to stabilize the energy flow. Rummaging through a box, he found an old radio dial. Maybe regulating the frequencies could help. He started wiring it into his makeshift lab. As he worked, the lights overhead flickered. Ethan glanced up, puzzled. The wiring in this old house was always dodgy. But the flickering seemed to be getting more frequent lately. Shrugging it off, he turned back to the radio dial. A static hiss came from the corner. Ethan realized it was emitting from the family's antique radio. Odd, that radio hadn't worked for years. He made a mental note to examine it later. The mysteries were piling up in this house. At school the next day, Ethan's focus strayed from his lessons as he ran through crystal stabilization ideas in his mind. He barely noticed when someone knocked his books from his desk. "Hey, Space Cadet. Keep your head out of the clouds," taunted Derek, the class bully. Ethan frowned as he retrieved his books. Derek reminded him of the skepticism the Luminarians first showed toward his desire to help. He had to stand firm in his beliefs. "Astrophysics is more interesting than you'll ever be," he retorted. Derek's face reddened as classmates giggled. "Whatever, nerd," he scoffed, storming off. After school, Ethan rushed to tell Myrtle and Alara about the encounter. Alara's eyes shone with admiration. "Well done, Ethan. You've shown strength of both mind and character," she said warmly. Ethan felt his cheeks grow hot at the praise from his new friend. Then he remembered Alara. "Myrtle said you're descended from Luminera's founders. Can you tell me more about them?" Alara nodded, her expression growing somber. "Many generations ago, my ancestors sought to build a refuge from the wars ravaging the surface. With their advanced technology, they created Luminera, powered by the empathy crystal, to be a beacon of harmony." Ethan's heart swelled with purpose. By helping Luminera now, he was carrying on Alara's family legacy. Alara provided ancient texts on the crystal's workings. Studying them in his attic, Ethan made adjustments to his setup based on the founder's methods. But progress remained slow. One night, loud pops and sparks erupted from the old radio, making Ethan jump. At the same time, the house lights surged brightly, then darkened completely. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. These had to be linked to the events in Luminera somehow. He worked late into the night, tweaking his experiments by candlelight. As dawn broke, Ethan finally managed to stabilize the energy flow in a miniature crystal for a short time. It wasn't a full solution, but it gave him hope. Rushing to tell Myrtle, he found the Luminarian scientist poring over data scans, her expression grave. She looked up as Ethan entered. "The anomalies in your world match the crystal's increased deterioration," she said. "It is accelerating on both sides. We cannot wait much longer before." She left the consequences unspoken. Ethan described his recent breakthrough. Myrtle nodded slowly. "Your idea has promise. But stabilizing a small crystal for moments is far different than regulating the massive central crystal indefinitely." "I know," Ethan said, mind whirring. Then an idea struck. "What if we work together? You make adjustments on your side, while I modify the energy from mine. Perhaps by synchronizing our efforts, we can stabilize it." Myrtle contemplated this. It could work, but the timing would need to be precise. "Let me consult with the other scientists to prepare a coordinated plan." Ethan's excitement mounted as he returned to his attic. It was a risky strategy, but he felt a new confidence after his initial breakthrough. This could actually succeed. He peered down at Luminera's sprawling expanse. Somewhere down there, Alara was preparing for a roll. And all throughout the city, Luminarians worked to save their home. Ethan rolled up his sleeves. It was time.